right, you guys. This is episode 6 of the Money Musician podcast, where we talk about everything gigging, performing, everything music. And so today, I got my friend here. He's a singer, artist, producer, DJ, entrepreneur, music coach, all the above. He's done millions of streams on Spotify. He's played some massive festivals. This is Zack Gray.
Thanks so much for having me, bro.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here.
So how did you start singing and just getting into music when you were young?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Where did it all start?
Well, anytime I brought that up with my mom, she says I was always just like ADD kid, just singing and humming all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's interesting, man, when you think about how music started and if there's a choice to like, I'm going to do music. I feel like it was just in me. I don't know if that's funny to say, but it kind of was, man. I feel like ever since I was a kid talking to my mom, she's like, you were always humming. When I was 5, I got my first guitar, and it was really funny because my mom tricked me into thinking that this classical guitar was a tennis racket for my grandpa. And the whole time on the plane, I was like, it's a tennis racket. And obviously a guitar case, you know what I mean? But Christmas, open it, it's a guitar. I didn't even honestly know how to play the guitar to tune the guitar for a really long time, but I remember still playing it. Yeah. But I did play violin when I was really young in like a private school. And I even remember just being like super motivated to be one of the best. And it wasn't like reading music, it was the Suzuki method, which is why I feel like actually guitar transferred over. Basically, they paint the frets on a violin.
Okay, yeah. And that was your first because I remember when, because everyone kind of gets like exposed to it in like elementary school and stuff, like the recorder and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember one of my first instruments was the trombone. Okay. And it was kind of like, maybe it was with you with violin, like you get exposed to music and maybe that's not your instrument, right? But you get exposed to it and you get to see kind of what this music world is like. Yeah. Was that kind of how it was with violin?
Well, dude, I mean, it's so hard to remember like how I felt when I was like 5 to 8. You know what I mean? Right. But like, dude, I just remember watching this, me playing at a wedding and just like being like focused. And I remember even just like, cause I was playing with the teacher, I like get done, I'm like, but I like played this whole thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Actually, dude, there's just some other memory that I'll tell you, which I think is funny. Some old video of me in like some preschool program. It was like the Sunshine Kids or something like that. There's this video of like all the kids on stage about to sing something. And dude, I just out loud and just fronted like all the parents. I was like, where's my microphone? Because I didn't have one and like this other kid had one. Oh yeah. And if that wasn't a sign of things to come, I don't know what it is. But in terms of the violin thing, yeah, dude, I just remember taking it really seriously. And I remember I was like one of the best kind of kids in my whatever class. And it's interesting when I think about the violin and just thinking about melody. And because, dude, just everything that I do and even the stuff that I coach on so much on the music side is, dude, it's melody. Melody is everything. And so when I think back to the violin, it's like, dude, that's the string melody instrument.
Yeah, that's a cool way to think about it.
And if you think about like a soloist or like, someone who's in, these big orchestras, it's like that violin player who is ever like the lead violin player, it's like, dude, that's all melody. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
that's like the lead singer of the orchestra.
Dude, wow. Yeah. Dude, I love that. Exactly, man. Yeah. That's cool. So yeah, I would say it started with violin. And then when I got that guitar, it kind of went from there. And then it was funny. Once I didn't even know how to tune the guitar and I still played it. And I remember just finally learning how to tune it. And then I just would play G. That was it.
Solid. Yeah.
I remember when I was really young singing at church too. And then, yeah, man, I think I got my first electric guitar when I was like 9.
And you were playing in the church like every weekend or something?
So I sang at church sometimes when I was really young. And then I think I played on the worship team, maybe in guitar at this other church for a second. But when I really kind of started doing stuff was I got an electric guitar, I think a Squire when I was like 9, and I learned like all the Blink songs on Enema of the
Squire,
State.
Yeah. And that's so I literally did the same thing. That's so funny. I had a blue Squire.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean,
all the Blink stuff.
Yeah.
Good Charlotte. All the good stuff.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny just like, you know, and obviously I'll get into kind of the faith stuff at some point, but it's funny just thinking like I played at church and then like I was listening to Blink and that was the band that made me want to be in a band. Because I was a skater too. And so it was like these 3 dudes are just having the time of their lives, just playing fun music with their friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. It's the music videos that get you.
Oh yeah.
Like watching all those like.
That's when MTV was actually not just pure just degradation of our entire culture. When it was still just like music videos and TRL. Remember that? Did you watch TRL when you were a kid?
TRL,
okay.
Yeah,
cool.
You're 35.
I'll
right?
be 35 this year. Yours
okay,
young.
Yeah. So
look at this face.
Yeah, I just turned 34, so we're right there.
What year did you graduate high school?
2008.
Okay. So I should have graduated 2008. I was like moved up back in that private school. I was either in like kindergarten or first grade for 3 months or something like that. So when I graduated, I was 17 and I didn't turn 18 until November 30th, which is my birthday. So I should have been 2008, but I was 2007. 007, baby.
Nice. And so did you play in bands in junior high and high school? Or
high school.
How was your music phase through there?
Yeah, so once I got an acoustic guitar, which was probably when I was like 10 or 11, that's when I started to, it's so interesting, man, because we got a piano at the house at some point. I got the acoustic guitar at some point, and my mom even got me guitar lessons at some point. And I guess I'll mention too that when I was playing violin, I remember there was this one day where this guy came in with a guitar and I just like looked at him and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. He just had a guitar. And I thought to myself, I was like, I want to play the guitar. Like, I think that was the moment where I was like, the violin, I was like, yeah, this isn't it. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, when I got the acoustic guitar, then I started like messing around. And even when I got the piano, man, I just always wanted to play it and just figure. From just a super young age, I always just wanted to figure it out. Like I just used my ears. I just sat down and that's why I still feel like even today I have this, whatever anyone would call some unique sound. It started when I was really young, man. And I even remember my mom got me guitar lessons, but the guy actually told me to tell my mom I couldn't come anymore because I wasn't playing what he like was teaching me.
Oh, you're just doing other stuff.
I was just doing whatever I wanted. Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't for lack of me playing guitar. I was doing music all the time.
Yeah.
But like I wasn't, you know, it's funny. Like my mom's paying this dude to give me guitar lessons and he tells me that I can't come anymore.
Right.
Anyways, yeah. Super funny. I wear that with a badge of honor.
That's awesome. And so, yeah, that's cool. I feel like that's learning at such a young age, really, you kind of forget about it, how much it affects the rest of like the trajectory of your career. Yeah. You know, just starting so young like that, even like, and so so you're doing guitar lessons and then what was junior high and high school like for you?
Okay. So yeah.
Were you doing like bands and stuff?
So dude, I want to say, I can't remember what it was. I remember I did like maybe choir in junior high or something. And dude, just to mention like,
nice.
Just the overarching of this entire thing. Between junior high and high school, there's these classes called opportunity or like, I was always in the class where like the troublemakers were. Okay. So there's like 10 kids that are like troublemaker kids, right? I was always in that class. They called it opportunity in junior high. And then in high school, like my high school I went to, like there's all these college prep classes and I wasn't going to college. Right. And so, you know, they took me out of English into like, hey, read this book and do a book report. That was my, you know what I mean?
Right.
And because I think, honestly, man, all my teachers, especially in high school, knew that I was going to do music for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But okay, so to go back to the junior high thing. So when I got the acoustic guitar, I started like kind of making my own stuff and somewhere between 12 and or whatever, preteen years, you know, girls come into your existence as a man in a way that you care about, right? And so those were like the first things I kind of started writing about. But dude,
cool. So you started writing at that time.
Yeah,
that's pretty early.
Yeah, dude. I think maybe somewhere between 11 to 13, there was some writing happen. Yeah. And especially 13 was a year. But dude, I even have this. I have this thing I call it Zack Gray's Greatest Hits, and it's something I recorded when I was like either 12 or 13. Okay. And it's like 20 songs of just me playing the acoustic guitar. And I literally recorded it with, I don't know if, I mean, dude, you gotta be kind of, not old, but you gotta be like millennial to understand this. So there, on old PCs, there's just something called Sound Recorder. Okay. And it just has play, record, stop, pause.
Right.
Okay.
Basic.
And so, dude, there's like a little microphone that used to come with your computer.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like a little drumstick. It's like a little black, like has like a little handle, and it's like has a little thing on the top.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And dude, I recorded all these songs with that thing. And bro, when I listen to it back, I'm like, my rhythm sounds amazing. Like my like the tuning of the guitar sounds awesome. And so like even to just listen to that back now, and I there's all these songs I kind of made that were just like when you're just mumbling your way through, right? Just kind of making stuff up. And I listen back now and I'm just like, whoa. You know, just objectively, like where I was, just my feel, like at that young age, like bro, it was there. Yeah.
So you had a lot just right in the beginning.
Dude, kind of, yeah, man. It was like, I mean, my voice evolved, but I think in terms of like my musicality and my feel in terms of like trusting my ears on piano or guitar, like, dude, it was there like somewhere around 9 to 13.
And that's kind of your first instances of producing, essentially.
Oh yeah,
like
I mean, dude, I think as soon as you
yourself.
record something, like that's production, bro.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Sound recorder.
Yeah,
I'll send you. Oh, spider! I'll send you some of those songs, so you can hear them. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That's cool that you have those, because like I don't know, you just play so much when you're young. It's like it's just cool to like take a glimpse back.
Yeah.
In the past.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting too, man, because I mean, I feel like just the, kids having iPhones in their hand that's a whole other conversation. But I do think there is something to be said of being able to capture moments in your life, especially when you're young, right? Or even if I had a kid, it's like, if you did do music, like, bro, I would try to record some of the stuff that he or she would make.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so,
100%.
yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool to be able to look back at that. But dude, I think just on that note, it's really cool to still we're the last generation, man, that like has pictures on like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Yeah.
It's like, dude, we think about this, and this is kind of off subject, but we are the literal last generation that will ever understand what it's like to grow up without a phone in your hand.
Yeah.
Never again will that happen, bro. We're
That's
like
wild.
The millennials to me, and like, I think there's a duty with being a millennial, to be honest. I think the millennial generation is probably, if not one of the most important generations ever.
Because of that transition?
Because of that transition. We are on the literal edge where we are young enough where we understand technology. Right. And we're also old enough to like be kind of more wise about some things.
Yeah.
And we've gone through that transition. And that's why I think
interesting,
even just where we go in the future and just what I'm even trying to work on with, we'll get to what my vision is I feel like there's a really big responsibility for our generation. Because people that are older than us, like our parents, like they don't understand it. I've had conversations with my mom, I love you, but it's like, where's my documents on my computer or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have the patience with it. Like most of them just like, they're too old to like want to learn it. Right. And then the younger generation, which is Gen Z or Gen X, it's like, they don't have, it's just, they're too young to know what it's like to not have that.
Right. That's crazy to think about. Yeah. And it makes you think like, I mean, like I remember having like that small Nokia phone.
Oh yeah. Same,
in junior high.
Same.
And that was the first phone, and you could just call people and text people.
Yeah.
And all you had was Tetris. There was no music on it.
Or Snake.
And
then I had the BlackBerry. The BlackBerry Pearl was like, that was like the GOAT, I feel like, in high school. It was like
100%.
The ball, and you had like Brick Breaker.
Yeah.
You remember that?
And then I remember getting the slide one where you flip it and the whole screen like flips up.
The Sidekick? Or was it?
Yeah,
okay, dude.
The Sidekick, yeah. Yeah. I had a red one.
I never had the Sidekick, but like that was the thing, dude. You like have girls like, that's so funny.
So funny to think about. And then that's during like junior high and high school for us. That was when the Zune was out.
I had a Zune.
The music player.
I had a Zune.
And then the iPod
Zune. Yeah.
minis were coming out.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. And then the iPods started having video on them, and then basically I just turned into the iPhone. But like, it's crazy to think. I just remember going around in high school listening to like Head Automatica or something, or like, you know, Hawthorne Heights at like lunchtime, being a sophomore, just chilling there with my green iPod, just like thought I was so cool. And it was like, it's crazy to think back to those times, because that's just, I don't know, you didn't have a phone that you could play music on. No. You just had your iPod. It's just weird to think about.
Dude, yeah, and but dude, just think about that. Like you would go meet up with your friends, you would skate or ride your bike to your friends. You wouldn't be worried about anything other than like, what are we doing? Getting in trouble, which I did a lot of, you know what I mean? But it's like, I just feel, I mean, this is like a different conversation, but like, I just feel bad for kids that don't get that. And if I do have kids, like I will not give them a phone until late.
Yeah, it's interesting how, because all the newborn babies are going to be born with technology. And so we had a good 11 or 12 years without it. Mm-hmm. And so that's just, it's.
And even when we had it wasn't like a thing that you were like on. You were like, okay, I can send a message to someone or I can call someone, but it wasn't like you weren't glued to it.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's so different now. And that's going to be like pros and cons to that, because maybe they'll get exposed to like better things, maybe, or exposed to things sooner. You know, maybe they'll be able to listen to music sooner or something. I don't know. There'll be pros and cons to it, but then also a lot of them are glued to it. So it's like, well, dude, crazy.
As soon as you get on the internet, what you're exposed to, that's the scary part for kids.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's a different conversation, but yeah.
So, but that's cool though. That's cool to think about. And so did you find yourself like writing more songs in high school? Like that's when you started writing your own original stuff?
Yeah. So when high school started, I had just an inkling of like I wanted to have a band like pretty quickly, right? Okay. Because that was my dream was to have the band. And then once I moved on from like Blink, it was like, what, dude?
You wanted to have like a rock band?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Oh yeah. So I'm just trying to think of the stuff I listened to in high school. I remember getting one of the Modest Mouse CDs, like with Float on it. Yeah. Modest Mouse. I remember listening to like Zeppelin a lot. I remember listening to like Queen. I remember listening to like, and then when I found like Radiohead and Coldplay and Muse, that was when, and I guess like when I was playing acoustic guitar, like Dashboard Confessional was a big one.
Yeah.
And dude, I actually got to open up for him at some point in my life, and that was a huge moment because that was like definitely.
Really?
Oh yeah.
When was that?
That was 2008 or 9.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, bro.
Where was that?
At some San Diego college, something like that.
Whoa.
Yeah. So.
And you just did like an acoustic opening?
No, my band.
Was your band?
Yeah, my band opened up for him. So, but yeah, so that's like a little farther down the road. But basically, in sophomore year is when I met my friend Sean O'Brien in science class, and just instead of working on whatever project we had, we were just like jammed because he was like a classically trained piano player. Nice. And we had definitely had a lot of similar music tastes too. And we also skated together. But then we like made this band with this violin girl called Almost 3 or something. I think that was because we were like, we're not sure if she's committed or whatever. I don't even know. Dude, that laugh right there is like, you can only have that laugh if you've been in a band. And you know it's like,
so funny, yeah.
Yeah, anyways.
She showed up half the practices. Almost 3.
Dude, that was the first band name.
Hilarious.
I know. Okay, so. Oh my God, that's amazing. So.
Almost 3. That's so good.
That was good, dude. That was a healing
good.
laugh. So anyways, the third didn't work. So she ended up not to be committed, right? And then me and him just like started doing our thing.
You guys changed the band name to Just Two?
Bro. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. What do you think? Do you want to pause now? So we can...
No, let's keep going. We're going. Let's go.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm crying.
So with that band that you guys did you guys play any shows in high school?
Yeah. Okay. So me and Sean, we started writing stuff together, and our first band was called Miranda. And just the funny story about that really quick is I grew up in Sacramento, and that was where like a lot of like the screamo hardcore scene was. I grew up like right down the street from this venue called the Underground, which was like a venue at a church, and that's where I played my first show. And there was this hardcore band called Catherine, and like some girl's name, and I don't know why I was just like taking a shower, getting ready. I was like, Miranda, that's cool. I don't even know, dude. Anyways,
yeah.
So I made up the story like to people like about what that meant or who this girl was. But anyways, yeah, that was the first band. And I can't remember who we played with first in terms of like who was in the band. But in junior year and senior year of high school, is funny, Mag, because you know that stuff I recorded, the greatest hits thing. I remember submitting this to like the talent show in sophomore year, and it was like mumbles, and they didn't like approve me to play in the talent show. But then junior year and senior year, we did start playing some shows, right? I can't remember we like got a drummer and I think a bass player, and I can't remember who they were right now, but we started playing some shows. And then junior year at the talent show, I got in and I played a song by myself, and my band played. And you could like do two things, right? So if you wanted to like dance and juggle or something, like they would let you do two things. And I won both things. I won the best solo artist for whatever song I sang by myself on guitar, and then we won best band.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like your first like
validation.
Yeah, first like validation.
Yeah, but there was more than that, man. There was a couple other Battle of the Bands things that we played. I remember we played this Battle of Bands in San Francisco, where it was like a pay-to-play thing at Slim's, and we got second place, and it was kind of funny the year after that because it was just judges. And like, however many tickets you sold, you got a better spot, right? And the next year we played, we like didn't care about that at all, and we played at like 1 p.m. instead of like 9 when we used to play, and we still won the whole thing, which was really cool. You know what I mean? And so,
that's awesome.
So, and then there was a couple other things that we won, and then my senior year we won best band again.
Whoa!
So
you did a lot in high school.
Dude, I was like, high school was when it all really started. And yeah, there was, I mean, look, it's like, you know, to any musicians out there listening to this, you don't need validation, and it will come when it comes. But obviously, you know, especially when I was younger, to just validate what I was trying to do, when you get that stuff early on, which is just like a nod from God or whatever, the universe, whatever you believe, is like, oh, hey, I'm good at this. And it's not just me that like thinks that. Right. And so, yeah,
it's nice to get that.
Yeah. But I think, man, the other thing to consider is just as a songwriter, I mean, dude, I was definitely like a troublemaker kid. I went through like a ton of stuff just with like girls and just like getting in trouble. And so I had like things to write about when I was young, dude.
Yeah.
And I think it's
a lot of fuel.
Yeah. And I think, just to kind of talk about songwriting for a second, if I have any talent that anyone would say there's something there, I think and I still think this is a skill you can develop, but being able to translate an emotion that's real into a song or into like your performance, like that's, you know, besides the, you know, draw towards music and all that stuff, it's like I had that pretty early, I feel like. But it was also tied to like just going through stuff, man. And music has and will always be therapy, man.
100%.
You know? Yeah. So, and I didn't grow up with my dad or anything. I didn't have any brothers. So it's just my mom. I was raised by my mom, and I just lived with my sister. So just to kind of paint the full picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like songwriting has kind of been, man, I don't know what I would have done at that age if you know, you didn't have songwriting, you know, because it's kind of just one of those things too, where you just kind of, all this stuff's going on in your life. And then for some reason that just playing the guitar and writing a song about it just is the medicine for that.
I mean, dude, it's just like instead of like writing in a journal, it's like you just put a tune to it. Like that's it. Like that's like the only reason why I have any type of career is I just liked doing that, and it was whatever, I was just drawn to it. And then enough people were like, hey, you're good at this. And then I was like, okay. And yeah, I guess I should mention too, at 13, even before some of this stuff happened, I was like on this famous stair set, just skating with my friends that I lived really close to. And I made a decision like that day. I was thinking like, oh, do I want to be a pro skater or do I want to like do music? And I was like, you'd probably get a lot less hurt with music. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds more fun.
Interesting. So you actually had that thought in your head of like, like you were making that decision in your head.
I made the decision to pursue music at 13.
Wow.
And I thought, dude, there was a couple times where I thought like, oh, because I wrestled a little bit. I was like, oh, I'll go to college for wrestling. Or I wanted to be a secret agent at some point because I like James Bond or Mission Impossible. But besides those two thoughts, like, yeah, since 13, it's like, dude, I really never wavered.
That's kind of, I almost had like a similar experience where I ended up, I was a skater too. And I broke my hand. This was probably when I was like a little bit older though. I was probably like 18 maybe. So like towards the end of high school.
Yeah.
I ended up breaking my hand, and I was playing in bands at the time, and I had to get a cast, so I couldn't play my guitar for like 6 months. And I remember having that decision in my head of like music's more important to me than skating, which was huge at that time.
Yeah.
Right? Because skating is a big thing.
Yeah.
But like I remember having that. But you've had it so much earlier. Like that was like, that's like, I feel like that's just an important thing to point out. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just like,
it's a very pivotal moment.
Yeah, dude, I don't really believe in luck, man. But I will say I do feel very fortunate that I decided that. Like I had that level of like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Right.
Right. And so I would say that moment was pivotal because, I mean, obviously we'll get into the rest of my journey. We're only at 13 or something right now in high school. But yeah, it's like I'm really grateful for that because I just decided, you know, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in.
Yeah.
So you played in a bunch of bands in high school, or you were starting to play shows in high school.
Yeah. So two bands in high school. One, so Miranda, then we were called A Sound Asleep. Mm-hmm. And then I think I played with another friend's band. And then the band that all the stuff started to happen to, which next is called Early States. That was like my band.
Early States. Okay.
Yeah.
And this was all in Vegas, right?
Oh, no. Sacramento.
Sacramento. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I grew up. And technically Roseville.
Gotcha. Okay. And then
suburbs of Sacramento.
When did you come to Vegas?
2015.
Okay. So that's a little bit later on then.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I thought you were talking about here. Sacktown.
All
right.
Yes. NorCal.
That's cool.
Hella, bro.
So what did you guys do with that band?
Okay, so as soon as Early States started, I was already playing in like the Sac scene, right, at the Underground, and there was a venue, Underground, Boardwalk.
What was the scene like at that time? Was it rock music?
Okay, so you had the scene kids, okay?
The emo
kids, right? And then you had the hardcore kids, right? And then you had the indie kids.
Yep.
Okay. So I was an indie kid, right? But I still I just grew up right next to this venue, so I was at so many hardcore shows, man. And it's really cool just to like fast forward to like EDM now, especially like dubstep or melodic bass. It's like, dude, the hardcore breakdown, like that's where that started.
Yeah.
Like the middle of the song where it's like, vroom, it's like, don't know, and then,
yeah.
Bro, that's dubstep. Literally, dubstep came out of that.
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that. And so that was like early 2000s. That's probably like 2007.
No, yes, but this is probably 2002, 3 to about, I would say it was like where this kind of started was about 2000, early 2000s, 2003 till like 2000. I mean, that scene went for a while, but yeah. So like the bands that I really loved, like in that indie vibe where like Copeland was probably one of my favorite bands ever.
Yeah.
Copeland, Augustana.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dude, there's one I'm forgetting about right now. Anyways, Copeland, Augustana, that was a big one for me. Okay, dude, you'll love this. Okay. This was a show at the Underground. Okay. Panic at the Disco opened.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So I saw Panic at the Disco in Roseville playing Sit Tight, I'm Gonna Need You to Keep Time. Like all those songs, bro. Like the Shotgun Wedding, all that stuff in like 2003, something like that.
Yeah.
It was like Panic at the Disco, Receiving End of Sirens, Cartel. I'm gonna butcher this. And then what was that band? Can't remember. Anyways, but yeah, and then like the hardcore bands, like that's where, what were the hardcore bands that came out of that? There was all these bands on the art.
Like As I Lay Dying and stuff like that?
I don't know if they're from Sac, but it was like Devil Wears Prada was kind of that time. I remember there was like Dance Gavin Dance.
Oh yeah.
Dude, Johnny Craig, if you guys know who Johnny Craig is, Emarosa, Dance Gavin Dance. Like
I remember
all that stuff was the Sac scene, bro.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy named Eric Rushing who owns this company called Artery Foundation, and it was like all those bands.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got the indie kid, and then you had like the hardcore, kids. It's like Whitechapel or I don't even know. But like you had, but yeah, that was all like, dude. The Sac scene was like a hub for like all that stuff, dude.
That was the heavy metal stuff, or like the hardcore scene was really buzzing at that time. Yeah. I remember too, like just going to a lot of like the Warped Tour shows, or a lot of like just heavier concerts where you're talking about you have the breakdowns, and there's almost just a different way of playing too. Like if you were playing guitar at that time, it was just like different techniques and like I don't know. It was more right hand stuff, like
exactly.
It was just a whole like kind of movement going on at that time, which was really cool.
Dude, I also remember seeing like the Killers at the Boardwalk, which is like maybe 900 cap. Like, there was a bunch of bands that ended up to blow up that. And I actually played Warped Tour. I played like 4 dates of Warped Tour. Our band won. We were like a finalist in the John Lennon songwriting contest for one of our songs, and they picked,
for that band that you were in.
Yeah, and they picked a band. Wow. I don't think we won the whole thing, but they picked us as a band to play Warped Tour. So we got like a bunch, like some gear, and went on the bus and played 4 dates of Warped Tour. And
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's what was the band name?
Early States.
Early States.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And so you guys had hardcore music?
No, dude. This was like this is all like alternative rock.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And how was that playing Warped Tour? That was probably like your first big show, right?
No, I wouldn't say it was our first big show, but I would say it was brutal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was so hot, dude. It was so hot.
Yeah.
We were playing on the Kevin Says stage, which is where they put, like smaller artists and stuff like that. And I remember, there's two kind of funny things. And there's a video of this too, because they did this John Lennon songwriting thing. And so I just remember Sean, my buddy, just in his boxers and a shirt playing at Warped Tour Fresno because it was so hot. And yeah, it was fun, man. It was fun. It was like, dude, we literally took my Isuzu Rodeo, which is like a stick, like SUV thing, and just had a trailer and then, dude, there was this moment, and this is recorded, where I'm like rocking out, and I literally fell off the stage like mid-song, like from like 6 feet up, dang. Right on my elbow.
Oh, dang. You just tripped?
No, I was like, there was a speaker in front of the stage, and I was like rocking out, and I stepped back onto nothing, and then I like fell straight down. And it was when the John Lennon guys were recording us, and I had a moment while I was like on the ground. I was like, you can just like, wuss out right now and just be like, or I was like, no, you can get up and finish the song out. And I did. That was like a moment of like, but yeah, anyways, it was fun. It was brutal, definitely brutal, like just like, and super hot. But no, it was definitely an experience, man. It was very cool. And the Warped Tour is not even as much a thing anymore. So like to get to play when we did was dope.
Yeah, that's cool. And you're getting so much stage time, and you're learning so much in those moments too.
Oh yeah.
Because you have to, I don't know, it's just a more like professional stage. So
yeah,
the band's getting tighter. You're I don't know, you're playing in front of a lot more people.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a leveling up.
Yeah.
Especially if like, yeah. So how did you go from going into like being in bands to being a soloist?
Okay, I'll try to make this transition short. Okay, so
Yeah.
we were like probably one of the premier bands in Sacramento for a while. And I've opened up for some really big bands in Sacramento. I opened up for Imagine Dragons. I've opened up for AWOL Nations, Capital Cities, The Neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
There's more I can't think of right now. But yeah, we were doing the sax scene for like a really long time.
And did you guys have like a manager and stuff too?
We had a manager. Yeah. So, okay, this is a funny story. So basically we recorded these 2 songs at the studio and then ended up working with this dude to like make like what got us signed. But we made these 2 songs and then like a drummer knew this other guy. And basically this dude worked for Incubus's management team. And he managed like one other band to the side and then us. And dude, this is super funny. So like my first like I made it moment, was he put us on Incubus's top 8 on Myspace.
MySpace, yeah.
Some of you guys don't know the gravity of what that is. Okay. Basically, imagine Facebook, but you get to showcase your top 8 favorite friends or people.
Yeah.
And so that was like, if you were on someone's top 8. And then it was also like, I just remember like if you, either broke up with someone or like you're not friends with them anymore, like take them off the top 8.
Yeah. MySpace was like the platform to like make it in the music industry at that time.
There was, MySpace.
There wasn't really
there was like so like the people who blew up off MySpace were like Tila Tequila, Jeffree Star.
I felt like Paramore.
Maybe Paramore. Yeah, there was a couple of those bands, but I just remember like the MySpace artists.
Yeah.
Like I just remember like Tila Tequila and Jeffree Star and stuff like that. But the other thing that was a big thing back then, which helped us, I feel like, kind of get signed was, and we were on their like top of the year or whatever it was. Do you remember Pure Volume?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Crazy. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Oh, dude, I found so much music. I remember discovering Panic off there too, and just like listening to that all the time. But yeah, that was it. It was Pure Volume and MySpace. It's like, dude, that was our first social media. I remember I missed the like, you could, custom HTML your page and you could have like your song. You know what I mean?
It sounds so crazy thinking about that now.
And I just remember like the MySpace player for like your band page too.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Everyone used it. There wasn't like, it was either like, there was Pure
that
Volume
and
or MySpace.
AOL Instant Messenger, bro. That was it.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
That was our thing.
Just to paint a picture at that time.
Yeah. So basically after high school, about a year and a half after high school, we started to get attention and we got signed by Wind Up Records, which is at the time was the biggest independent label in the world. So it's still a major label. And so the bands you guys would know are Creed, Evanescence.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
I didn't know you got signed so early.
Oh yeah, dude. I
was right out of high school.
Signed in 2009. Yeah, about 2 years after high school. And so we got the whole Wind and Dine thing. Went out to New York and like showcased and played and all that stuff. And so got signed to like a 360 deal and then through
at that time. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
at that time, what was your mentality about contracts and everything like that? Like, were you guys just going for anything,
bro?
Or like,
here's the thing, and this will bring us up to kind of present day at some point, is when you are coming up at that era, it's like, dude, the only thing is getting signed.
Right.
And so that was what I set my intention to. And if you want to talk about manifesting or just like, trying to attract your dreams or whatever you believe about that, like that's what I was focused on. I was like, we got to get signed. 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 But like ultimately getting signed is not really what I wanted. I wanted all the things that I thought would come after getting signed. Right. And so, I mean, this even brings us up to current day, but it was like, it's a trap in a lot of ways. And there's so much risk in getting signed. And so basically what ended up happening was when we got signed, we got a little bit of money and, we're trying to work on finishing this album. And, but in 2010, it's funny with like the band credit card, we went to, seriously, dude, we went to Coachella and EDC. Nice. And that was the last year EDC was in LA. So it was at the Coliseum.
Whoa.
Okay? That was the last year it was in LA.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then I went to Coachella. And so that was like, I remember seeing Muse live for the first time and then all the EDM stuff. And I just was like infected by this like electronic thing, right? The bands at Coachella I remember seeing too that I loved were like Passion Pit, Phoenix, remember Tommy York played that year after that, that was when Flea was on bass. That was so dope. And then, so when I came back from that, like, and I started to get like into pop music, whether it was like even like Lady Gaga or Black Eyed Peas, or like, there was just like this, like, that was when boom, 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 gonna get that boom. That was like that era, dude. And that was kind of when, so there was just this, and even the David Guetta stuff with like Akon and, you know, whatever, all that. But yeah, there was this electronic thing that just infected me. And so then I started to like, you know, want to be like a pop band kind of, right? And so there was that, along with just being 19 or 20, or whatever I was. And dude, this is so funny, bro, because like we ended up getting dropped, which is where I'm getting to. And like this guy, this like writer for one of these for one of these like newspapers, I can't remember what it's called, but like I told him this whole story. And because our manager, when we got signed, he got us an Xbox, and like we would just play Call of Duty all the time too. And so basically this guy's name is John something. John, if you watch this, you're hilarious, bro. This is probably the reason, so we'll just go with it. So basically what he wrote was like, because the manager got them an Xbox, like that, like he basically like associated like us playing Xbox to like why we got dropped, which I thought was just hilarious, dude. But no, it was funny, dude, because there was all this stuff going on with music. And then I remember them like flying us out to work with this guy, this other producer, to like go over songs, and then our kind of whole sound changed. And I also remember like having this like conversation with this A&R dude, and I'm like 19, 20, just having like the most grandiose thoughts about everything. Yeah. And as you do when you're 19, 20 and you get signed and you're thinking about the world, whatever. And I remember just that conversation being whatever. This guy probably was like, I don't know who this kid thinks he is, or whatever. You know what I mean? And so there was a bunch of stuff that happened. And then also one of the owners of the company died. This like, and his name's Alan Meltzer or something like that. He was like a big poker player too, and his wife was like the main A&R. And so he died, and the A&R lady, this girl named Diana, I think she was kind of like an interesting lady. But yeah, so whatever. One thing led to another, and just all this stuff happened. And then, you know, I got that call. I was like, from my manager, like the labels decided to drop the band.
How did you feel at that time? Because that was that's kind of a big thing, and especially when you're that young.
Well, dude, I mean, like my like band who I wanted to always be like was like Coldplay, and I was always thinking like 23 is when Parachutes came out, and that's how old Chris Martin was when at the time, and yeah, so when I got that call, and it seemed, so this is how I justify it a little bit. It seemed like because this dude died, we weren't even through making our record. They were going to have to spend even more money than us. It seemed like they kind of just like let go of a lot of things, including us at that time, because whatever headache was they had to deal with us, along with like still having to spend money on making the rest of our album or whatever. Gotcha. And so, but yeah, man, I mean, at 20 years old, getting that call after I'm thinking like, you know, my dreams would be in the biggest band in the world or whatever, like I'm on my way. I mean, yeah, it's like the dream turned into a nightmare really quick, right? Because you're like, whoa, like already. And then so it's like, dude, all the songs they were working on, like couldn't do anything with them anymore. Basically my buddy Sean ended up moving to LA at some point. We changed the band name to this band called Rings with a W, which I hate saying. And if you ever name your project anything like that, where you have to spell it out every time, like, sucks. Anyways, Rings with a W.
I still like Almost Three better.
Almost Three is hands down the best band name ever. Okay. So, but yeah, basically, man, so to make long story short, to move to Vegas, basically, kept the band going with the other band name for a while, and had some good stuff, and kept doing the thing. And then eventually I just got super tired of like, just, you know, because I played with almost 50, like probably 50 different band members. And but it just ended up to just be me. Like I was writing, producing, and you know, I just got tired of every song having to have whatever, guitar, bass, real drums. Yeah. And getting more into the EDM space. And then, you know, and I'd have people a lot be like, bro, you should just be Zack Gray or my mom or whoever. And so in 2015, I wanted to go to LA, and basically, to make a really long story short, never had really a good relationship with my dad for an extended period of time. But anyways, I went to visit him in Vegas, and I met a girl, and she was just kind of the anchor to come out here. And so it was supposed to be LA for sure, but But yeah, it's like, dude, I've never planned. It's funny, like Chaz said this. He was like, no one plans to move to Vegas. And I was like, I feel that.
Yeah.
So anyways, quit the band 2015 and then moved to Vegas and enter next chapter. Crazy.
And too, like, just around that time too, probably the alternative rock thing was phasing out a little bit and shifting into more pop.
Your solo artist stuff, yeah.
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 There was probably some shift happening with the music popularity or something.
No, dude, for sure. I mean, as soon as like Deadmau5, Skrillex, Cascade, I mean, I think honestly, man, Skrillex is such a huge part of EDM culture going into now because no one had ever heard anything like that, bro. No one had ever heard these like transformer, like hard, and because dude, he came from First to Last, which was like a hardcore, like rock, post-hardcore screamo band. Yeah. And so like, I remember, dude, he even had Sonny Moore, which was like, if you go back and listen to Sonny Moore when he was doing his thing, it was the start of what Skrillex became.
That's crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, I like watched that whole thing happen. When Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites came out, it was like, bro, it changed things.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. Yeah. And so, wow, so you had, I mean, just from high school to 2015 when you moved to Vegas, that whole period of dealing with so many band members, dealing with labels, playing all those shows, opening up for those big bands and stuff, that's just a lot of experience just in those years.
Yeah. Oh, dude, and then
you figure out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing that we didn't even mention is like how much time I spent in the studio with my band recording stuff.
Yeah, producing.
Like, dude, like I've spent so much time in a studio with an engineer, not only like just recording my band, but recording vocals and that whole process and just everything I went through with my first producer engineer. And I'm so grateful. We had a big falling out, and I'm not really tell that story because it doesn't super matter. I mean, it does, but yeah, dude, just how much experience I've had in a studio. Like I was talking to some of the guys in my group are also singers in addition to producers, and we've also just talked a lot about once you get towards like the end of a song, it's like, dude, it sucks. Once you write the song, it's like finishing songs sucks. Like,
because you're done with it.
Well, it's not that you're done. So it's like, okay, so the song's written. And so like when vocal starts for me, and especially where it started, is like, dude, I'm like trapped in a small box, which is a vocal booth, for hours on end, waiting for the engineer to be like, that was the one.
Right.
Try it again, try it again, try it again, try it again, try it again. Yeah. Dude. And so like the boot camp of like the torture that actually is to like get vocals that are good. I mean, dude, it's invaluable. And I kind of feel for artists who've never had that are trying to record themselves, because I think everyone should learn how to record themselves. But if you've never had a good engineer like produce you and like kind of like work with you to try to get the best out of you and spend that time just grinding, singing into a mic. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, all that, bro. And I mean, dude, it's like, from recording all the stuff, playing to a click, playing with the band. I mean, dude, just hours. And that's why like, just losing all those songs with my first band, like, was so demoralizing because, bro, it was like 30 songs. Yeah. That were just like, okay, can't release these now.
Dang, yeah. Yeah. And that's and just going from being like a band leader, being like the lead singer in the band, right?
I've always been the lead to the band, yeah.
And to go from that to just being solo now. Yeah. And you're just doing a solo act, just Zack Gray. More pressure on you. Yeah. But I guess there's the pros and cons of that. Like, you don't have to worry about any band drama. You don't have to schedule practice.
That's not necessarily true.
Unless you had...
Because I had a band when I started.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's right. That's
you know
right.
what I mean? So, I don't know if it was more pressure, but here's why. Okay, so I guess I want to mention that, like, I always wanted to have a band. I never wanted it to be just me. Like, the only reason I ever started to be a solo artist was out of pure just frustration of, like, I have this dream and this passion, and I haven't found the right person or people.
You can't wait on those people.
I'm not going to wait on them anymore.
Yeah.
And so, but dude, I never, like I said, I never ever wanted to be. I would think like, oh, I'm going to have this huge career, and then I'll be a solo artist, like at the end, whatever, like Freddie Mercury or Chris Martin has some solo career or something like that, right? That's what I thought. But I never ever wanted to. Dude, it was always the band. I always wanted it to be something that was like beyond myself. But the thing that I did like about being a solo artist was there could be 100 people that play with me, but if something happens with them, nothing changes.
Right.
That's what I like, because dude, I had like 5 different band names through high school to then, and like, okay, the dude left. Oh, we got to change the band name now. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, dude, like just so annoying.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wow. So you were, when you went just as a solo artist, were you starting to produce at that time?
I had been producing probably since, I want to say I started to produce probably right after we got dropped.
Oh, really?
So between like 2009, 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started to kind of produce then.
So you had 4 or 5 years of producing experience.
Oh, yeah.
To go into you being a solo artist.
Oh, yeah. And even the next band Rings that came out, like I produced a lot of that stuff.
With the W. Rings with a W.
Rings with a W. Yes.
That's so cool. And then so what was like your first biggest project as a solo artist? Or like were you doing singles in the beginning? Were you doing an album?
Yeah, so when I first came to Vegas, I lived with my girlfriend and her roommate at the time, and didn't really do that much music. And then I didn't really even start having a place to produce until me and her broke up, and then I moved in with one of my disc golf friends that I had met out here. And yeah, it's funny because I love disc golf. It's my other hobby, but I'm so grateful I started playing right before I moved here, because that was like my first friends. I went to the park just by myself and met people. And so I moved in with a friend when me and her broke up. And that's when I finally had like a space where I could make stuff. And so that was probably 2016, something like that.
Yeah.
And then at some point, a friend of mine had come into town. This guy named, at the time his name's James Cavern, and he was from Sacremento. And he invited me to this house, and this house is called 6th and Franklin. This guy named Joey Vanis used to be a partner or he was like one of the founders of Life is Beautiful. He used to run First Friday, and he has this kind of mansion downtown. That's like cool.
I remember that place.
Yeah, it was Stupak's old house.
It was right on the corner there.
Yeah, 6th and Franklin.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, they had these. So it's funny, when I first walked into the house, and I remember James was there, Rassar from the League, RIP, was there too, and I think Cameron Calloway. And I remember walking in, and there was like a studio about to be built, and Joey was in there, and I just remember thinking like, I need to be here. I need to get in here. Right? Because I was like, whatever's happening here. And so, dude, basically, long story short is they would have these jam nights, and I came and just did my thing and, sang and played and whatever, and then went on this trip, and then and she's still incredible, one of my best friends, Janelle Maza, and she was like kind of working there, and so basically they were looking for this guy to be like a in-house producer thing, whatever, because there's projects Joey's working on, and then we had all these jam things where like I would set it up. So I was like got hired to be the music guy at this house. So I lived there and worked there, and so like they had a lot of kind of visions for what they wanted it to be, which never really materialized, and that's a whole other conversation. But to be there for as long as I was, like I was injected into the heart of the Vegas music scene, and that's where like I met so many people, bro. Like Mike Xavier, I think not Cameron Calloway. Oh my gosh.
There's a bunch of artists.
There were just so many artists that came through that. And so, dude, I was like the music guy at that house, right? And so that's where I finally like got injected. That's where I started to make some music. I like met a lot of people, and then I released my first solo artist stuff in like 2017. And so there were 3 songs that one song was, gosh, dude, there's so much stuff. Like I was like thinking about this podcast, like, bro, there's so much stuff. So, but yeah, so my manager at the time eventually started to work for this like publishing company, and so like then there was like trailer licensing music. So I remember doing this cover that kind of came out with them, and that's who released also the Rings music with the W. And so there was one song that came out with them, and then there was 3 solo songs that I released in 2017 that were like a blend of all that kind of stuff, which was electronic, R&B, alternative kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And then that's about the time where I started to like play around here.
Like playing original shows?
Yes. So dude, I've only played original shows in Vegas. Unless DJing at Macy's counts as like a cover gig. I had some DJ gigs, which we could talk about. But man, I started to play around at like Bunkhouse and even at Six and Franklin. And so I started to play around early. And then the EDM stuff started to happen because there was just this dude, I don't even know how he found me, from India, this guy named Mune. And he was like, hey, will you sing on the song? And just like bugged the crap out of me forever. And I finally said, okay, yeah, I'll sing on it. And it was just a super chill house song, and released the song independently. And then Chill Nation, who has Trap Nation, they're one of the bigger EDM kind of curators YouTube channel. Trap Nation was like the 30th biggest YouTube channel for a while. And so they signed the song, and then this big door to the EDM space opened. And I also explained it as like, I was new singer blood in the water, and like sharks smelled me, right? And they eventually told me, they're like, yo, we signed the song to get to you. And I'm like, okay, I get it, right? Because every DJ and label is looking for new singers to put on tracks with producers, because there's way more producers in the world than there are good singers.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because the barrier to entry is so much lower than having to learn how to sing and write songs. And so that's when I got the first really big collabs in the EDM space and started to have my traction. But I guess the other thing I'll mention was with some of the solo stuff, and I don't know how he found me either, but there's a guy named Jake. It's funny because my manager was named Jake, and this guy was named Jake, and then my old producer's name's Jay. There's a lot of J's in my life that were like in Jesus. There we go. Okay, so but basically they were like a subsidiary of Sony, and so that's who helped me get like my first streams as my solo artist stuff. And actually I was able to release my stuff as my own label name, and so they got me on some playlists, and that started happening. And then as soon as the EDM stuff started to come in, that's when I got like some massive streams and stuff like that, and a couple collabs really started to blow up. And then in like 2018, dude, I was almost at 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify.
Whoa, that's crazy to all think about. That's like, that's a lot to happen in just a few years, because you got here at 2015. And I just want to point out too that you just going out into the music scene, the house on 6th and Franklin, you networking.
Oh yeah.
And meeting everyone and doing all of that work and showing up. That's so important.
Yo, yeah.
Because it led to all of this other stuff that you just talked about. And like, I just wanted to point that out, because I get a lot of questions about people moving to new cities and how to even start gigging and all of that stuff. And it's like, you just have to go out and meet people. And
hands down.
It's crazy that all of
hands
that
down.
Led from that, you know?
Yeah.
You just going to 6th and Franklin, meeting everyone, networking. And obviously there's the work that went into it, but like, you just kept showing up. And I think that's just super important to point out.
Yeah, you have to just like, you have to be bold, and you have to like, even if you don't feel, I think, like just to kind of go on that point, like confidence is a choice, right? It's like everything in life is going to be scary at first. And so in terms of networking, man, it's like, and especially if you like know that you are good, right? Because some people are like, it's funny, man, because I've talked about this a lot lately, like this whole thing about imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. Heard people talk about that, which is a new thing. That's a new term. People were not saying imposter syndrome like a couple years ago, right? It was like you're insecure or whatever, right? And so this whole thing of imposter syndrome is like, because I was talking to one of my artists about this, and I'm like, I've never felt that. And I'm not trying to like flex by saying that, but I'm like, dude, I worked my butt off, and I was passionate and confident about what I did. And it's like, bro, I have doubts and insecurities just like everyone else, right? But I think in terms of networking, to just touch on this for a little bit, is you have to put yourself out there, and you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And that's in all areas of life, whether you have to like go into the gym, right?
Yeah.
And so in terms of networking, it's like, dude, I don't know if it's like necessarily risks, but like I put myself in front of people, and I like, I mean, dude, it's almost, it's funny because we'll maybe talk about sales, but that is sales. Like you're selling yourself constantly. And here's the thing is like, it's funny about perceived value because dude, you can, and like, don't manipulate people, right? If it's not true, but like when you first meet someone new, they have no idea who you are.
Right.
And so all they're going to take from when you first meet them is like what they perceive that you are.
Right.
Doesn't matter. It's like, do they perceive that you're someone of value? Do they perceive that you're someone of whatever? And so, and I like sometimes before I say things that might appear like cocky, I say this with all confidence and humility, but that's how you need to act. You need to act confident, but also humble, which is like, you're not desperate. There's like a sense of like, don't be desperate, but you still have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and you have to meet people. And I think, in terms of musicians and gigging stuff, because I know a bunch of your audience is, and that's why I think the Shag Room thing is really cool, right? Because technically, man, what Six and Franklin was a jam. Yeah. And so it's
kind of like an open mic.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's what I injected myself into quickly, that actually got me the job and got me all these things, because it wasn't that I just talked to people. It was like I put myself on a stage in front of other musicians and the community where people could see. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's this funny thing that's coming to mind that I'll just mention. And this is why I just love Mike Xavier so much. Mike has got to hang out soon again. But he's a family man, and he's an amazing entrepreneur as well. Shout out to Mike Xavier. I just remember it was just so funny, dude. Like the first thing he said to me, like after I came off like playing, he was like, "Man, you're going to be famous." Like it was the first thing he said to me. And I was like, "You're nice. What's up, bro?" It was just cool. It was just a memory that just came back in my head. I love that man. He's incredible. But yeah, it's like you got to put yourself out there, and you have to put yourself in places that musicians hang out and people that care about music hang out. And so, to go back to like the Shag Room and stuff, like so important, because I think in this day and age, yes, you can promote yourself independently on social media. You don't have to be anywhere. Right. And that's the power of the internet now in the positive way. But in terms of like, being in a new city, and if you do want to create friends and you do want to, because I think a lot of people now, they overlook local. Right. So there should be a blend of like, yes, you're putting yourself out there on social media and doing stuff to promote yourself. But if you like can build like a little audience with yourself and your community, like there's just as much power there too, for whatever you're going to do, whether it's gigging or whether it's like doing your original stuff. And so, to put a little, bow on that, 1000% networking, putting yourself out there, being confident, be willing to, be judged, whatever. Yeah. Important. Just put yourself out there, even if you don't feel ready. Yeah. Just take the leap. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention that I was just thinking about is the reason why I was able to have as much trajectory momentum when I came to Vegas is because of all the stuff in the past. And I think the people that were in the scene that maybe saw me come up or whatever were like, who is this guy? Yeah. And it's like, dude, up until that point, I had just years, bro. Yeah, of just preparation. Of preparation. Basically. And then as soon as I came to Vegas and relaunched myself as a solo artist, it's like, dude, all of that experience just like, helped so much. Oh, dude, I mean, yeah. But in terms of Imperfect Love, so at some point, I met a dude named Blake Wisner, and of all the producers and artists that I'd met in the city, there was just some like party or something where it was like their label or some little collective or something. They were showcasing songs, and they played this song, and it was a song by Jay Douglas, who plays around, and this song called "Run Away from Good." And I was like, "Who is this?" And it was just the first time I'd heard something in like a local scene where I was like, it made me turn my head, and I was like, "This is good. This is really good." And I basically figured out it was Blake who produced it. And me and Blake developed a friendship on, first based on just musical talent. And I've always been, dude, I love collaborating. I love working with people, which just goes back to the band. Right. And so I had that song for a little bit. And then once me and Blake started to work together, we did that song. And Dude, I worked with Blake on a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, he was a co-producer, co-writer, co-collaborator on a lot of things, including a lot of the EDM stuff too.
Oh, that's cool.
And, you know, long story short, me and him had a falling out at some point. I wish him nothing but the best. But at the time, dude, very grateful for what we did together. And Imperfect Love was the first single, which eventually led into the album, which was the debut album, Imperfect Love. So what kind of ended up happening was basically, I started to get a lot of notoriety with the EDM stuff as a singer. And then I just hit this moment where I was like, dude, I don't want to be known as just like an EDM singer guy. Like I wanted to make a band, bro. I wanted to have an album. I never got the album to come out years ago. And so like, dude, I want to make an album. And so I basically started saying no to that stuff. And I wasn't really getting paid at the time. And I didn't know how to charge or whatever. And it's like, you know, DJs are just trying to take advantage to get free vocals. Like, yeah, we'll split the song. But anyway, so yeah, I started saying no to a lot of the collabs. And then I was like, dude, I want to make an album. I was like, if I'm going to put all this creativity into the music, like I want to put it into my own stuff. Right. And so then we made the album, and that was, oh man, dude, if you've ever actually created an album and produced it, whether it's you or our team, it's tough.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Very tough. So, but the album was done in 2019, and that was like my biggest year ever. Right. Or, I mean, yeah, well, with everything going on, yeah, it was one of my biggest years ever. And so, you know, just kind of being in the scene, even just knowing the Life is Beautiful guys and stuff like that. That was when they picked me to be on the official lineup.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And so,
yeah, for everyone who doesn't know who Life is Beautiful, it's basically like, it's kind of like the Coachella of Vegas.
1000%. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, for sure.
It's just a really big festival that they have in Vegas, and you got to play it. Yeah,
and I just want to, you know, put it out there that like it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna pick a local band, and they made it a point to tell me that. They were like, hey, we picked you because like you're actually fit on this lineup, not just because you're a local person. And I liked that clarification too, because I don't want to get on stuff just because I'm like a local band. I want to get on because like I'm an actual artist, right? And it makes sense, right? And so, and I had been talking to them for a long time. I mean, I used to see Justin, one of the original owners, at my restaurant that I worked at forever, and I would always like update him on what's going on. And
Justin Winiger?
Yeah. And I think so. Okay, let me just do a little parenthesis in this. I think if you are a musician, whether you gig, right, and you make your money all that way, I think just working at a restaurant is the other best option for you of like being a creative. Because here's the thing, especially if you can get a job like in the heart of the city, you're going to meet so many people and you never know who they are. Like Justin would come into Esther's all the time.
Esther's is a Italian
Esther's
restaurant.
Kitchen, yeah. And so, you know, like, yes, did I want to be a server for as long as I was? No. But like the people I was able to meet and continue to see on a daily basis, like Lily would come in there all the time with Dave and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so like,
just a good networking spot.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to think about it.
And then the other thing about networking is like, if you do have a job, which is like in the service industry, you get so much time to communicate with people. And so there's like a skill that's being developed the entire time. Anyways, that's beside the point. But eventually I got selected to play Life is Beautiful. They gave me a full band set and they gave me a DJ set, like at the Toyota Den. So I got to play 2 shows that weekend, which was crazy. That was like my first actual DJ set. I've never been more nervous in my entire life as a performer than before that DJ set.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. Very nervous. And I killed it. But I was also singing and playing and DJing at the same time, which was cool. And that leads into kind of the project. But yeah, so that was going on. Life is Beautiful was awesome. Then I played the Rise Festival in the desert with like all the lanterns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then in 2020, in February, I had this big headlining show at Bunkhouse. And it's funny, it's kind of like my flu game show. Basically, I got like food poisoning or something. And like mid singing,
I remember that.
Dude, I was like, I literally had to throw up mid show, like behind the curtain.
I remember that.
And so
that was crazy.
Dude, I was literally like God bless everyone who was there that night. They were so nice. I was literally like my girlfriend at the time. Like I was literally just in the merch booth, just like this, just trying not to die. And like so many people came and bought merch and they were just so nice. And then once we drove home, like as soon as I got out of the car, I just like threw up like a huge.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy because I was at a lot of these shows. Like I saw you at Life is Beautiful. I saw you at Bunkhouse do that show.
Yeah.
But we weren't really friends at that point. I kind of we knew each other, who each other were, but
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Dude, that's cool that you were there. Like you have that experience and that's awesome, man. And so, but yeah, so that was like the last hurrah. And it was crazy because it's like, I had like it was just a moment, bro. It was like after everything. And then I had this huge headlining show and I was super sick. And then right after it, COVID.
Dang. And so throughout that whole time that you were making that album and playing all those shows and stuff, were you signed at that time?
No.
Or you were doing all of that completely independent?
Well, okay. So every single song was still signed. Yes. Because I had distribution through the Sony for my solo stuff.
Okay.
And then I had distribution through every single EDM song I was ever on, always came out on a label. So, but was I like signed? Because there's different. So I think we should clarify because being signed as an artist, there's one side of it where it's just like, hi, we're a label and you're our artist now. Mm-hmm. Okay. But how it works a lot nowadays, especially in the EDM scene, is like, we want to sign this song. We want to sign this EP. Right. And there's way less commitment from the label and it's way less risk on the artist term too. But so I was no one owned me as an artist. Right. But I was signed all my songs were signed pretty much.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So it still gave you a little bit of freedom to make a lot of decisions.
Oh yeah. I can do whatever I want. I just as soon as the song is on the label, it's like, okay, well now they own part of that song now.
Gotcha.
Right? So.
Gotcha. Dang, that's so crazy. And so, I mean, we could just talk about the music industry a little bit real quick. Like, what do you think are the pros and cons of the music industry? Like,
oh my gosh.
And when I talk about that, I'm saying like working with a label or what would be your advice? Work with a label or be independent?
Here's what I fully think, which is what my business is now, which is in the simplest way to put it, it is coaching. The same way that a fighter needs a coach and a trainer is the same reason why I feel like an artist needs a coach. It's the same reason why the most important person in my life has been my business coach, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not at a level yet with my career where I need someone to manage it, or I need to hire like an assistant, or I need to like hire really anybody else yet. I'm almost there. And so on the business side, it's like, until you're the constraint of like that particular thing, you shouldn't bring anyone else on. And so to go super full, just picture of where we are now in music, I think a label can be good, but artists need to just really know what they're doing and really understand what it means to work with a label. And I think there's a lot of things, and we were just talking about this in my group the other night. So we were talking about managers, and there was a bunch of managers we brought up that are like, just kind of blacklisted in our group now because they've just done like shady things and just, dude, just so many dumb managers, so many dumb people in the music industry who just think they're so cool and they have no idea what they're talking about. And they're just trying to take advantage of artists, and they're trying to collect artists so they're cool and hopefully one just like pops off. But so there's a lot of things, there's like a psychology about what I've seen happen with artists and labels. And so one is this: I have a manager and I have a label. So I don't have to do that much work, because the label is going to do the work, or the manager is just going to give me connections, right? And so, and then there's just a story. One of the artists I'm working with now, who, basically he just had a bunch of early success and had a lot of like collaborations with bigger artists and all this stuff. And a manager picked him up, and then was taking advantage of his opportunities and leveraging them for his other artists, and then was just really not doing cool things. And eventually, to just, for what was best for him, he let go of the manager, and then the manager basically just got him blacklisted, right? Taken off a whole tour, and like all this stuff ended up happening. So, and then, dude, for me, like with labels, I mean, and I didn't even bring up another record label who I was signed to in like 2017. Like, dude, I have lost like 40 songs working with, oh yeah, dude.
Just like, from getting shelved? Just
from getting shelved. And then they're like, oh, well, yeah, you can't release this now. Right?
And explain to everyone how that works.
So if a label pays for your stuff, like in advance, right? And keep in mind in advances alone, right? And so they're going to advance you money, and then you have to pay back that advance before you get any money. And dude, okay, I'll just break this down. I've said this probably 1 trillion times now, right? 4,000 streams on Spotify is about $4,000. Okay, if me and you do the song, which is in the EDM space, like you're the singer, I'm the DJ, right? We're going to split it, right? Okay, so then the label's going to take 50%, right? And like, let's just say you have a manager, okay? And so at $4,000, if you have a manager, label, co-collaborator, whatever, you maybe have $600 after taxes, if you pay taxes.
Wow.
Okay?
You said 4 million streams?
1 million streams is about $4,000.
Is 4,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and then here's the kicker, right? Is what part of the song is going back to pay that advance? Let's just say the label spends $1,000. Okay. They're like, yeah, we paid this guy to do art, and we like, you know, maybe got it posted or something, right? Whatever. Then they can say whatever, dude. You know. So that money that's going back to pay the advance off is out of just our cut, the artist cut, right? And so how long is it going to take me and you to pay back $1,000 advance before we get any money?
Right. Yeah.
Yo, I mean, dude, it is like, because here's the thing that artists think, and I'm glad we kind of went to this now because it's super important and we can catch up on the story later. But I come from the time where you think you need a label, right? And the other part of it is artists just want to make music. Right. So there's that part. But what you're giving up when you sign to a label is, one, your momentum in a way, because yes, maybe the label can get you more exposure, or there can be some networking connection that like maybe could get you to play a show at some point. But dude, I've had songs pushed out like a year, 2 years, where I was just dragged by another artist or just like through the label. Oh, we're going to whatever. And I've lost so many songs in my career. And in terms of the EDM space, like, yes, sometimes it's been cool, but I just think in today's age, which is the entire thing of what I do with my business, and I do help on the music side, but you know, just like a fighter needs to know more than just grappling or boxing. It's like, dude, an artist, to me, the music is 20%. And what's going to make you successful now is the other 80%. And so that's realizing that you're not just an artist, you're an overall brand. And I don't say that to make it sound like stale or something that's not you. It's like your brand is everything. Your brand is how you speak. It's what you post. It's like what my favorite thing of what brand is what people say about you when you're not around. That's my favorite thing.
That's great.
And then but you have to realize at some point that like, yo, the actual way to get where I want to be, and this is even what labels want too, they're going to want you to make content. And so if you're going to have to figure out how to make content anyways, which is why what I focus on with all my artists is like, hey, let's figure out first off, why are you doing what you're doing? And then build out the entire spectrum of everything that means. And then the last thing I tell artists to do is, okay, now let's figure out content. But I don't just tell artists, hey, you need to make content. I'm like, dude, let's figure out like who you are, what you stand for, what your music's even about, what that looks, sounds, feels like. And then let's figure out content after that. And so I say all that to just say, if you are going to sign to a label, don't sign to a label until you have leverage. And if the label can really help you and you can negotiate that on a distribution level or whatever, like, cool. But I think the biggest problem right now is, one, on a major label deal, if you want to just get down the rabbit hole, it's like, you know, look at when Demi Lovato first started and where she ended up, or Sam Smith. It's like, bro, you see all these artists just turn into like satanic.
They just they're losing control over what they're doing. Is that what
Dude, I don't
saying?
know what's happening, but it's like I just see these artists just turn into just like, what happened to them, right? So that's a major label deal, but let's just zoom back into just the EDM space of like, dude, I just feel like you have so much control as an artist, and yes, it's going to be hard to make content, promote yourself, or figure stuff out, but like, if you actually want to build a sustainable career, which goes back to even why my company is called Sustainable Creative, you have to look at yourself as a business. You have to understand that like we live in a new world, and where people discover music is on their phone looking at Instagram or TikTok. It's like, that's where you find new music, right? And so there's just something I've seen happen just so much, even in the scene that I'm in the EDM melodic bass space, of a lot of artists where it's like they have big collabs with artists, and they have all their songs signed to record labels. And they have a manager, right? And then that makes them feel like, oh, I'm big. Right. And then they negate all the other stuff. But here's the truth is like so many of these artists don't have a fan base. They just don't. And so the reason why this dude who I was talking about earlier, the reason why it was so easy and why it was so detrimental to have this manager screw him over is because he didn't have a fan base. And it didn't matter about the big shows. It didn't matter about the label signs. It didn't even matter about the co-signs with the bigger artists. Because if you don't have a fan base, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And so even like, another artist who's been my best artist, this guy named Luvium, dude, it's like he's gained over like 50,000 followers over the last couple months because he has just figured out what his brand is and he's translated that through content. And that has had an effect on literally everything he's doing by building a fan base, by having like connections and people reach out to him. And so that's what matters. And so I say all that to say, like, if you want to build a career and you're actually serious and you're willing to work hard and do whatever it takes, I would say avoid record labels at all costs. Because at the end of the day, a record label is just a business and you're just little assets they pick up here and there. And that's why they're trying to fill their calendar. They're going to maybe promote you for like a month or two. And then they're throwing stuff on the wall. One, because they have to fill the calendar. And two, because they're going to sign as many things that they can. And then the other terrible thing is there are bigger artists who have record labels where what they'll do, and I've seen this happen multiple times, is they will, be having a relationship with a new artist. And then that artist will make their best song. And then the bigger DJ will be like, oh, what would be the best for your song? You should do it with us. And then they'll slap their name at the front and they won't even do anything on the song.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
It happens all the time.
That's wild.
It literally happens all the time. And so because if you think about these bigger artists too, it's like, dude, and they have all these camps and like it's this artist camp and that artist camp. It's like, dude, no one's going to be above the camp. And so like, if you want to create your own path, and you want to like be your own thing, you have to do it. And I think the other thing is like, dude, there's so many artists who blew up 10 years ago. Okay. And all these newer artists are like looking up to them and they don't understand that like when these artists blew up, it was different. It was not what it is 10 years ago. And so like, you're not going to just blow up by just like the collabs or the connections and stuff anymore. You're just not. It's so rare, bro. And then the other thing to consider, and which I think is, no one knows this unless you're inside of it, but dude, there's so many artists who like, they're just friends, a friend of a friend. And so they're like, dude, we'll put you on the show. And they didn't even deserve it. I've seen people that I had songs with like just get off a stage where like their friend just hooked it up and like act like a diva. And I'm like, bro, you shouldn't even be here. Like, if you didn't get off that stage being anything other than grateful, it's like, dude. And so other artists probably look at that artist and be like, oh, bro, how is that happening, dude? Like, whatever. It's like, bro, he has some connection, right? And so, dude, there's just all this psychology stuff that, like, is a cancer in so many artists' brain. But what I would just want to tell everybody, and I'm not trying to pitch my own business, but this is the truth. It's like, dude, there is no one in the space, in the EDM space, doing what I'm doing. Because I'm not pushing people towards labels. I'm not just focusing on production. Because you have to have good music. That's a given. Like, your music has to be good. So it's like, here's the thing, and I say this to all artists on calls and even in my group. There's two things that artists want to do. One, make the best music you can that you're proud of as fast as possible. And then secondly, it's build an audience so you can play live. That is literally it. And there's minutia to all those different things, but do whatever you can to make the best music possible, right? And then in terms of building an audience, figure out what your brand is and be ruthlessly relentless on social media. And if your music is good, you will build that audience over time. And so the last thing I want to say on this note is, and this even goes to the business stuff and business coaches, like, I wish that, and I think that's what really my business is. My business is what I would have liked to have 5-10 years ago. Because imagine any of those sectors of things, whether it's sports or business coaching or whatever, take coaching out of those things. And where's most of these athletes? I mean, even look at Michael Jordan's conditioning coach, Tim Grover.
Right.
and no one knows about him. You hear Phil Jackson, but dude, Michael Jordan had a conditioning coach named Tim Grover, and he's a massive part of Michael Jordan's success.
And Michael Jackson had a vocal coach.
There you go. And so, dude, that's why, when I really come down to like what artists truly need is you don't need a manager. You don't need a label, right? You need to pay for coaching for someone who understands what it's like to be who you are, right? Yeah. A fighting coach is someone who's been in the ring, who is a fighter, who's been hit in the face, who likes to fight.
Who's already done what you want to do.
And that's the biggest problem in the music industry is like, you have all these like, dude, this is managers. Ready? Mm-hmm. I just like music, bro. I was going to clubs. And then one day I was like, bro, I just want to be a manager. And then they probably have pretty much like close to zero business background. And maybe some of them figured it out on the way, but that's it. And so you have people that have no idea what it's like to even make a song or go through something and have an emotional experience with creating art, trying to give artists advice. And then you have what happened to my buddy Charlie, where it's like some idiot just ruined his whole thing. You know what I mean? Because he didn't know better, right? And so, I could go on. I'm obviously very passionate about this, but the truth is right now, no, you do not need a record label. You need to like make the best music you can, and however you do that, like figure it out, right?
Yeah, so it's making good content, building your brand. What else did you say? You said something else after that.
Making music, whatever that takes, right? And then figuring out authentically what your brand is. And then like, dude, I talk about this all the time with my guys. Because there's so many like producers that have come in lately who are insane musicians. I'm like, dude, you are so good, right? And the reason why Dominic Louvium has been able to have as much success as he's had is because the music's great. Right. And then as soon as he came into my first master class and he just implemented like what I told him to do, and actually just had a conversation with him and another artist yesterday and posted it inside of my community. And I was like, bro, what was the thing? And he was like, bro, just realizing what the why is. Why am I doing this? And so once he internalized why am I doing this and what his whole brand means to him, and then started to just make content based on all those things, he just, dude, I mean, it's been insane. And then, bro, this is just the truth because I see the whole scene. Like Louvium is the number one up and coming like person that's a melodic based DJ in the scene right now in terms of what's happened on social media. Because I've just watched it and I've been a part of it. And I was the fire that started it with him. And so, but dude, his music was great, right? And all he did was we figured out what the brand stuff was and he started just to be relentless, dude. And so at some point, bro, he will need no record labels. And we're working on building a team around him. But the other thing I'll say is, let's just forget about managers for a second. Let's forget about labels, right? I would say like you figure out how to make like a partnership with someone you deeply trust and who's going to be like your bandmate on the music side. And that's what I want to get into with what, is coming with Melodic Pulse Collective and Sustainable Creative is actually partnering with an artist. And so it's not like you have a manager or you have a label. It's like a true partnership where we like run it like a bit like you would run a business, right? So if the artist is the product, right, and like let's make sure they're good and let's figure out the product side, then you have another team that's built around them that handles everything on business, and that's everything from merch to booking to touring to everything, right? And the music industry is so fragmented, and you have all these people in different positions, and that's why it's like everything moves so slow because, dude, it's like you have A&R, you have label, you have manager, you have business manager, you have lawyer, you have a booking agent. It's like, dude, you have all these separate entities who have other artists. And it's like, and dude, so if you're going to find a manager or just a partner or whatever, it's like, and there's this other guy we were talking about in the group. It's like, dude, he's like, he has pretty much no experience. He's trying to be an artist. And he has like 10 artists on his roster already. It's like, dude, how are you going to get any attention as an artist if your manager has like 10 other artists? And as a manager too in the scene, it's like, bro, there's no money to be made. You're getting, like, I already broke down the streams, right? There's no money there. I mean, the only reason my old manager was able to make any money is because I got a vocal fee. So when someone paid me $1,500 and like, they paid the $700 up front, I would send her, $150, like, good job, right? But that's because I was a vocalist. Like, and then, dude, when I played even these bigger shows, Life is Beautiful, Lost in Dreams, it's like, dude, I had maybe $1,500.
Right.
$2,000.
What do you think is the best way for an original artist to make money?
Great question. So here's the thing. There is money in streaming, but you have to own it. Because dude, you have to own most of it. You have to own the master.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to clarify for everyone.
Yeah. You have to own the music, right? So if like you upload it to DistroKid, it's like you own the song. You're not splitting it, right? And the publishing doesn't matter as much, even though if your song does blow up, the publishing does matter. And that's like registering it on ASCAP or BMI, right? The Performing Rights Organization. And that's basically the companies who make sure that when your music is played wherever in the world, they're keeping track of it and they're paying you, right? So that's the songwriting. For example, it's like, you know, when Michael Jackson bought all the Beatles publishing, like there could be 1,000 covers of Yesterday and Michael Jackson's going to get paid, right? So I hope that clarifies. But how I think an artist can make money is one, streaming can, I mean, dude, if you listen to like Russ talk or whoever is, dude, streaming can be, because if you have, let's just say you have 1 million, let's just say you have like 2 million streams a month, if you can get there.
Okay.
Dude, it's like $8,000 maybe.
Yeah.
And so, dude, but if you own the whole song, and so that's why I think like, let's just talk about streaming for a second. If you, just knowing that you can make money on streaming, right? And if you need to have someone like help you produce or even help you write, like, dude, you know, you can just pay someone. Like it's better to just like pay someone up front for things so they don't have any of the back end. Dude, it's a whole reframe of like, if you have a business, you're going to have to invest into it. And so if you get artists to just think about like, okay, well, maybe I'm not good at this thing. I need help and I'm going to pay for that. But then if I can just pay for that and not have to split stuff with them or split it with the label, then when the money starts coming back to you and it starts to gain momentum, then like you're not having to pay out all these other people. Right. And so I think streaming can be great if you own the music and you are making content or you're investing into ads or whatever. I would say, dude, I mean, here's the thing though, dude, you don't have to spend any money other than like your iPhone. It's like CapCut's free.
Yeah.
You know, you already have probably your computer that you're producing on. So it's like, dude, there's no excuses.
Right.
Excuses. And so,
little overhead.
And I think the other ways that artists can make money, I think you have to be creative. I mean, I think merch is important. You know, there's also like, I've heard a lot of people talk to you like create a sales funnel. Like what if someone wants a custom song or what if someone wants, I mean, dude, think about this too. Like how many artists have a website where it's like, hey, if you want to book me to perform, here's how much it is. Like imagine just a sales funnel or a landing page for an artist.
Yeah.
Where it's like, here's a merch, here's a private community where like you can find, I'll like, you know, I give everyone who's a part of this my, you know, new songs before everyone else gets it. So there's like merch, private community, exclusive stuff, obviously playing shows. And then, yeah, it's like custom songs. If you're have a page where it's like, this is what it costs to book me. And I think an overarching thing of just everyone should do is like, you should be collecting people's email addresses. Right. And then I think the other thing, just, it's like not a exact exchange, but everything happens after this, is show gratitude and appreciation for the people who already follow you, for your fans. Whether that's sending people DMs or whether it's just engaging with people, it's like, just remember that if you can make even just like 100 loyal fans that love you, it's like they're going to tell their friends and they're going to tell their friends. And then, you know, I don't know if you've heard the 1,000 fan theory, but it's really important to mention is if you have 1,000 loyal fans that give you $100 a year, it's a six-figure business. Yeah. And so, dude, to get 1,000 loyal fans at some point to give you $100 a year, maybe that sounds crazy, but at some point, like that's not that hard.
Right. It's like less than $10 a month.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's like work your way up to that. And then I just think, man, everyone's just brainwashed into the traditional music industry with connections and labels and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't care about any of that. I call the Melodic Pulse Collective, like this is the anti-music industry. Because I literally don't care about it. I hate a lot of that. And I think it's very evil in a lot of ways. And I think artists are just massively taken advantage of. And I've gone through all my stuff and, you know, we didn't really get into my story. But yeah, I literally lost my entire love for music, which is what prompted me to start this business at some point. And so, and if I didn't go through that, I would have never started this business in the first place. Like this business just came out of pure necessity and pure, like knowing that artists need this help that doesn't exist. And so I just want to mention before we kind of move on from this is just remember everybody that concert venues are businesses, right? And so are festivals, right? And so regardless of feeling like you need to network or play the game or whatever, it's like if you can build a fan base and then there's people who want to see you play live, you go to the concert venue and you say, hey, I want to book a show. I have like 10,000 people who would come, or 1,000 people, or 500. They're going to go, okay, well, this is how much it costs to run out the venue. Or like, hey, we'll do a deal where you split the bar, or whatever it is. Okay. I think people forget that. It's like, dude, you can build your own fan base all on your own without any connections or literally anything. Literally anything. You could be a friggin' girl in the whatever place where there's like no population. You could live by yourself in the mountains, right? And as long as you have an internet connection, you could literally build a fan base of like 10 million people.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
Okay, and then once you have that fan base, right, you're like, hey, I'm playing a show here. Like, the music industry doesn't even matter with that. Like, take the music industry out of, just call the music industry like people who listen to music. All the listeners in the world are in the music industry, right? And so you just take the entire music industry out of your mind and just realize like, hi, I have a business, I do art, and like I will find the people that will like me through just putting myself out there constantly. And then if I get to a point where enough people want to see me, then I will host an event. Or I will host multiple events and I'll call it a tour.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe, and I was just thinking as you were talking about all that, maybe the music industry has gotten to such an extreme point that you creating your business is like the new solution. It's almost like the new music industry, or, you know, when stuff has to get to an extreme for there to be like a big change sometimes. Yeah. Maybe that's what's happening.
Dude, I fully believe that, man. And yeah, if to just get into like the kind of story which kind of stops where we started, right? COVID, or starts where we stopped. Once COVID happened, I didn't want to work at the restaurant I was working at. Definitely didn't want to work as a server with a mask on my face, whatever BS was about to happen. And so I quit my job. And then right when I quit my job, it's kind of funny because you talk about breaking your hand. I broke my wrist the day I quit my job.
Crazy. Yeah. How'd you do that?
Skateboarding.
That's all skateboarding.
Yeah. So day I quit my job. But I had already been talking to this girl who was a singer in the EDM space and like linked me with her dad, who was her manager. And he basically, you know, was like, hey, we can make you all this money as a vocalist, right? And so, but in that moment, what's really important to know is I settled. I had all this momentum with Life's Beautiful and everything that was going on and the headlining show. And I was like, well, if I can't keep this going and I want to be a full-time artist, then I'm going to have to do something different. I'm just going to have to focus on the thing that I know can bring me money, which was singing on EDM stuff, right? And so then I had a bunch of big collabs as the time went on. And then when the world started to open up again, I was like, I want to play live, right? And so you can't, and I, you know, some of those shows with Beyond Wonderland and stuff, that was me performing as a singer, but I wanted to like have my own show, right? Where I could be on the decks and I could sing and stuff like that. And so
that was more of your like DJ sets.
Yeah, but it was all DJ sets where I would sing too, you know? So it was like, I had to come out with my own branded music that was like, hi, I'm the DJ too, right? With just my name on the song, right? So, or my name first or whatever. And so started to release some of that. And then, yeah, man, I mean, you know, just really the most important part for me and where I am now, and this is, you know, it really is the most important thing to mention, regardless of where everyone else is at with their spirituality is, you know, I've been a Christian my whole life, and in the end of 2021, I really had like a awakening, you could say, kind of come to Jesus moment. And as soon as that kind of happened, man, it was timed with also just me being tired of myself in a way, like whether it's eating or partying or just whatever, bro. I got tired of my own stuff as a man, and I'm like, dude, you need to like figure your stuff out. And so then I started to kind of like try to get better. I broke up with the girl who I was with at the moment and tried to obviously just do what I knew was right and follow Christ. And yeah, dude, I don't know, just that year, a lot of stuff happened. But anyways, man, part of that whole process was me realizing that if I do want to be independent in any kind of way, like I have to be independent. I can't just sign every single song I have to a record label, right? Because at some point, if the record label doesn't like what you do, you're just a liability. You go from an asset, which is really what you are, right? You're not this like thing that they care about. You're like an asset, right? Then you switch to a liability super quick, right? And so I still played Lost in Dreams, which was the big festival out in Las Vegas. And then I played in Miami at Art Basel. But dude, during that time when there was just all this stuff going on in my life, in my spirit, in my career, and I was still just doing vocals for EDM DJs, right? And so I was blessed to always have someone waiting on me, right? But like that someone waiting on me took up so much creative energy in my brain. And then at some point I went back to working as a server to separate the money from the music. And then, dude, like right at the beginning of the year, I was just like, dude, I'm sick of this. Like I got to a point where I was like, dude, I turned my career into something that was like what I really didn't want. I turned it into this job and I ruined it. And I think that's why, I just think, because look, I fully support every single musician in the entire world, but I think you really need to ask yourself what your music means to you. And just for me personally, because every single thing in my entire career has tied to like, this is my personal therapy. And so when I personally turned my music into something where I was only worried about, where it was like tied to money and I was having to make decisions with my music to make money. And that's why I said, this is just me, right? Like it did turn into this poison, which ruined my entire love for pursuing music. And so at the beginning of 2023, I literally was like, I'm done. And it's crazy because we started this with me telling you that at 13, I wanted to do music. And so almost 30 years later 20 years later, I was like, dude, I'm done. And so that was I mean, bro, for people around me and everything, I'm like, I'm sure that was like insane. And I was like the peak of my career. I just played a huge show of over 100 million streams on my music. And so, but honestly, man, when I let it go, I had a lot of peace, man. I was like, because dude, like, you know how it is. It's like, write a song, try to finish the song, promote the song, play the show, the label, blah, blah. It's like this thread. And so I was like, bro, I'm going to like, let this go. And so I say I quit, right? And I announced it, but I'm a musician. I'm going to come back at some point. And I was so tired of just like chasing this thing. It never turned into what I wanted it to be. And like going through all the label stuff and just everything I've gone through in the music industry, I was like, dude, I'm just done. You know, I was trying to like focus on my disc golf career. But dude, then at some point, man, like this, you know, I kind of thought about a couple different business ideas, and then I just decided like, bro, I have so much experience. I have massively analyzed so many things that I've seen in the industry of artists, figuring out how to be independent through content and all that stuff. And so that combined with just my heart to help people, that's when I kind of had that idea, bro. It's like an artist needs a coach. Right. And so I was trying to like do one-on-one consultations and stuff like that. And then did one-on-one coaching, and then quit my job. And, you know, regardless what inevitably is, man, it's like, bro, the day before I quit my job, I got literally like 5 signs from God that like it was time. And like there was a Hermosi video, there was like 3 other things. And then there were literally, I in my car, I was like, yo, God, I hear you. But like, I need you to like give me up for sure on this. And so then later that night, I got like 2 other massive things, and I was like, okay, like, I guess it's time. And then I quit my job, and like the rest is history. But, you know, I mentioned that, man, because just for me, like, I didn't choose to quit my job. I didn't, right? And so like, that's why I feel, man, like, you know, without getting super, super spiritual in this, like, dude, this isn't my business. Like for some reason, God wants to be in the music industry. He wants to be in the EDM space. And every single thing that's happened to me since then, it's like, dude, it's not me. Serious, man. It's like, dude, I give all the glory to God. And all I've tried to do is just be obedient to what I felt in my heart and in my spirit. And that's why I feel like it has been as successful as it's been. Because 1, it wasn't my plan. Like Miles, I never ever thought my entire life I'd be a coach or start a business or driving up in that car right now. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dude, like this was, if you would have told me like, bro, you're going to quit in a couple of years and then you're going to start a business, I'd be like, go screw yourself. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Sounds crazy, right? Yeah. It's insane. So dude, it's like, you know, just to come full circle with what you said, it's like, it's the reason why I know it's been successful is because of that, because I've just tried to be obedient and because I put my heart and soul into this. And I genuinely feel like, one, it's so needed. What I'm doing is, I just know this because I just work with these guys. And like, I just feel their heart and the pain that they've been through in addition to what I've been through. And I'm like, I not only see the transformations that's happened, and yes, the numbers and going viral, it's like, it's important, but bro, the thing that's important for these guys and for me is the mindset and the overall transformation of like them rethinking even what their music career means in the first place. And so, and that, it's true, man. It's like, it's been a huge gap. Like it just doesn't exist. And that's why, that's why I feel like it's been as good as it is. And I just also feel like, and this is a hard thing to like sell to artists, but it's like, dude, I just care because I'm you. Right. And I have no other, it's like, dude, you pay what it costs to come in the program for me to work with you, and that's it. It's like, I'm not taking anything from you besides like, hey, this is what my time in the program is valued at. And there you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Who do you think has been your biggest motivator in life? If you could think of like a couple people throughout your life.
Well, I mean, dude, just goes without saying, Jesus Christ and my whole relationship with God and everything that's happened. But I would say, okay, well, let's separate this from like artists and then like the business side.
Okay.
What do you want me to do first?
Do both.
Okay. So I would say on the artist side, I mean, yeah, dude, what Chris Martin did, I think Coldplay was like massive for me. And then Tom York, just Tom York's so weird too, dude. It's like, he's just a weirdo, but like, he's so awesome. Like he's so like, dude, he's just, I think just what Tom York did in terms of how he made this like electronic alternative like thing. It's like the spirit of everything that I love, like the sound of, just comes from Radiohead, which is like, it's like this haunting pain, angst in like the most beautiful way. Right. So I would say like my musical heroes for probably that have done the most for me is probably Tom York and Chris Martin. And then on the entrepreneurial side, obviously Hermosi. Myron Golden is one of my favorite people ever. And then, dude, there's been a couple people in my life that have just been like, just came out of nowhere, bro. My friend Sean Malone, who owns a company called FlowChat, I met him playing disc golf like right after I quit my job, and he's just been just so helpful, man, so motivating, and so just pouring into me. And I'm trying to think of someone else because, man, I feel like dude, it's interesting because of all the questions, I was thinking about this the most.
Really?
1,000%. Yeah. I was like, who is? And I was thinking about it. I'm super grateful for my first business coach, Gabe. I'm grateful for Christo, my business coach now. But I think, dude, just like, honestly, I'm kind of just thinking about it more right now. Like any person in time who was like considered like a rebel and who like, they say, it's like Steve Jobs says, the people who are crazy enough to change the world are usually the people who do. And I feel like it with all my heart and my spirit, man, and just like what my mission is to like be like a rebel, man. But a rebel in like because it's interesting, man. It's like the people in this world, especially at the beginning, and even the people who I think are doing the best, or even the demonization of Christ, or I mean even Trump now, whatever you think about him, it's like, dude, like I think the people who are the most feared and demonized and hated are some of the people who are actually doing the right things. And so that's for whoever to decide. But like, there's a lot of people who don't like me, for sure. And there's a lot of people who, probably think I'm like just a fly on the wall and like I just disappeared into nothing, right? But the truth is like, I'm coming. And I say that not as vindictive or anything like that, but I think, dude, I'm an artist. I care deeply about people who are musicians just like you and just like everyone here watching. And I think they need to be protected, and I think they need to be cared about, and I think they need someone who, just is genuine, man, and who's genuinely trying to like figure out who they are and help them in the way that they need. And I know that doesn't exist. And so dude, that's why I say, bro, like this is the anti-music industry.
Mm.
Yeah. So the
well
rebels,
said.
man. Yeah.
Well said. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have to be super long.
No, I
I
like this. Dude, it's so crazy to think about that because it's weird, bro, because it's hard to answer that question because every single thing that I went through and all the wrong things that I did led me to here. I'm getting chills while I talk about this last part, to be honest, man, because I have no regrets. And the reason why I have no regrets is because every single thing that's happened to me and every decision that I made led me to where I am now. But I think if I could go back and talk to Zach like 10 years ago, I'm gonna cry, dude, honestly. I would say,
take your time.
thanks, man. Yeah.
It's been a crazy journey.
Dude, it's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
I would say continue to stay patient, man. I would say, I know you don't see it right now, but it is going to work out. And there's a part of me that wants to say, like, stop focusing on women or girls. But like, dude, it's like I would have no music career if I didn't go through all the relationships I was in.
Right.
And so it's like, you know, and I would say, you know, I would be like, hey man, focus on God more and all this stuff. And, but dude, like God was just working through the whole time on me, and every single thing that I went through and that I did and that I fell away from it, like it just prepared me for now. And so it's really hard to go back and tell myself to change anything. But that's what I would say.
Right.
I'd be like, hey man, just like, you know, be patient. And even though you don't see it yet, man, like it works out.
Wow. That's great. That's great. Well said.
Dude.
It's cool to think about that.
Insane, bro. Yeah. So
where can people find you?
Yeah. So if you do want to listen to my music, just Zack Gray, ZackGray. It's on all streaming platforms, wherever music is available. And then my primary page would probably be Instagram. So just add Zack Gray.
Cool.
And then if there's any artists out there on the EDM side of things, which is where I'm focused on right now, Melodic Pulse Collective on Instagram. And I do have melodicpulsecollective.com, which I'm working on a landing page for that. And then my overarching company is called Sustainable Creative. And so that's on Instagram too. I'm working on all my websites and funnels and stuff right now. But
Gotcha.
But yeah, I would say the best place to just reach me and see what's going on would be Instagram at Zack Gray. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, dude.
Dude, thank you so much for having me, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.